Hey YouTube, what's happening? Chris here. I want to bring you guys an update on a coin that I was looking at, and this is EOS. We're going to be looking at it on the USD scale here, so EOS USD. We're at $3.59 right now. We're down 0.42%, and there are just a few things I want to show you that I was seeing. You guys, what I feel like for EOS is a very large move is looming right now. And obviously what we're doing right now, we're waiting to see if we're going to break to the upside or if we're going to break to the downside. The reason why I said that a large move is looming here, you can see for how many days now we've just been moving sideways, and these candles are getting very small, and also your volume's getting very low, and that typically happens before you have a breakout either to the upside or the downside. And another reason that I'm looking at it here is we've been holding this 20 EMA in green for quite a while now, probably since back to around that February 8th or so. We've been holding that, we've been up above it, and now we're fighting with it really hard. And we also have this 200-day moving average coming down right on top of us as well as very strong overhead resistance. You see how we wicked off it a few times here, guys. And then what we also have is that 20-day EMA that we're still holding as support. So we're getting sandwiched in between this area. We're also getting sandwiched between this 50 moving average in blue and this 200-day moving average. So EOS is going to have to make a decision if it's going to break up and start closing up above this 200-day moving average, or if we're going to break down and see if we find any support on this 50-day moving average, which is around that $3.38. So it's just being very patient now and waiting for this break, guys. We're basically in like almost a symmetrical triangle type deal here, where we've been having these lower highs and higher lows that have been coming into this point. And another thing I wanted to show you is that we had this major drop in EOS. You can see that massive fall. We were up around, let's see, about $5.84, and then we fell all the way down to $1.53. So we took our high and our swing low here, and what you saw was this overall reaction made it to this 0.618, and then we started to fall back down to this 0.382, and you'll see that a lot. Those two will work together a lot of times. You know, when we're doing the Fibonacci the other way, if we're taking it from the swing low to swing high here, a lot of times if you have a retracement down to that 0.618, it will bounce up to that 0.382, and that's where a lot of profit, or a lot of traders will take profit. So always be aware of that. But it's funny how we made it to that 0.618, and that's exactly where profit started to be taken right there, and we got pushed down to this 0.382 before we had a bullish engulfing candle into tweezer tops into this 200-day moving average. So now we're moving sideways, but a very large move either to that upside or that downside is coming, guys. I can promise you that. It's just being patient to see which way it's going to break. Now with this little symmetrical triangle that I would show you right here, so if we draw this on, we'll just do a rough drawing of this, guys. So if you see this here, and we'll go from the wicks there. So this isn't the best symmetrical triangle. Typically with symmetrical triangles, what you want here, we'd count this as a touch, this would be a touch, and then right in here we're getting to that apex. But typically you want a lot of price action in this middle here. You don't want any void spaces, too much void spaces, so we have a little bit there. And with symmetrical triangles, typically they will break to the upside about 50% of the time or more if this trend is continuously going up. I just did a tutorial on symmetrical triangles, and what it was saying is basically with symmetrical triangles, they want to break towards the trend more often than to fail. But with the symmetrical triangle, it's waiting to see which way it breaks out over top of the trend line and starts closing over top of the trend line. That's what you're paying attention for before we can break to that upside. So in terms of overhead resistance now, we have that 200-day moving average, and then we would have this area around $4.17, and that would be at that 0.618 again, where we fell from this last time. You know, there is a lot of room to run, though. If we were to get over this top here, this top right here, there's a lot of space to run if you're not counting in the Fibonacci, because, you know, guys, this fall happened so hard and so aggressive, there wasn't a lot of support and resistance being built there. So whenever you have big falls like that, a lot of times you'll make it up on the backside. You'll see that. Next thing I want to show you guys was the RSI, and to take a look at this. So with the RSI, we have some more indicators that we may be breaking to the downside. So what I like to do, I'll draw a trend line right there, and what we'll see is if we break out through that, or if we're going to keep just bouncing along it. You can see, you know, kind of up here, hit here, here, and then we're going to see if we punch out of that. Now, if you punch out of that on good volume, most likely we're going to run to the upside, and we're going to come up here and we're going to test this area. If we drop to the downside and we see resistance off that and start to fall, I would look down to our RSI around that 39 to 40 to see if we can find support. And the way that I do that, I'll draw horizontal lines right there for our support. So that's what we're working in right now, guys, and that's why I said I really think now's the time to be patient. And it's time to be patient due to that volume really dropping off, so things are getting a little quiet. Remember, these storms, they brew, they get very quiet, and then all of a sudden you'll just see a huge white candle, something looking like this, either break to that upside or a big red candle break to the downside. So, you know, guys, you do what you want to do with it. I was just trying to bring this to you and show you that a potential move is going to be happening here in EOS. And I think the people who are patient are going to be rewarded. And this is from that low to swing high. And now you can see we're underneath the 0.236 right now. We're floating between the 0.236 and the 0.382, which would also have this 50-day moving average here trying to act as support as well. Remember, moving averages act as support and resistance. God bless each and every one of you. Take care, my friends.